What is up, YouTube? Bruh, for the first time ever, y'all get a twofer. You get a twofer. I'm back twice in 1 week. Ladies and gentlemen, back to back, I can't believe it. So, as I'm posting a chopped up clip of the gorilla who used the pew pew on her 4 children, which was my previous video, someone actually sent me a new headline because, as we all know, something that I preach, neglected children tend to not be national news. So, of course, this is something that, was new to me. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't gotten around to it. So somebody sent it to me. And, of course, this one was just as bad. I mean, they all are just as bad, but if you had to rank them, my last story, 2 out of the 4 children survived. Brian Vasquez, that one was horrific. Nia Williams, that one was horrific. But this story here, dog, you gotta hear the details to believe it. This one here isn't going to be easy, not for me to say, not for y'all to hear. What I'm about to talk about is something that sits heavy on my soul. Something that's going to make you question what kind of world we're living in. Over the years, I've talked about a lot of stories. A lot. I've seen neglect. I've covered a lot of stories. I've covered a lot of neglect. I've covered a lot of pain. I've seen betrayal from people who were supposed to protect the innocent. But this one here, this one here hits different. For some reason, it hits darker, it hits colder. This one here, it's just more deliberate. Have you ever heard something so evil, something so beyond reason, that it doesn't even tend to sound human anymore? That's what this story is. It's not just another tragic case. It's not just another news headline about child abuse. This story here, it's something that strips away your faith in humanity, literally, for a moment. And the more you hear of this story, I'm sorry for the nervous laugh. I apologize. But the more you hear, the worse it gets. Because this story here didn't happen in a dark alley. It didn't happen in the hands of a stranger. Like always, it happened inside of somebody's home. The child's home. The parent's home. A home that was supposed to represent love, safety, family. And the people responsible, notice I said people, the ones, plural, who were supposed to protect. They didn't just fail at protecting, they destroyed. 10 years old. 10. Dead. Starved. Beaten. His name was Michael. I don't have much else to say, because my words, I can't even describe this. Hell, I don't even think the news can describe this. But after the news go, I'll give it a shot. But go on, roll that disgusting, horrific, diabolical, psychotic being footage. Man, this story is I almost cussed. This story is sick. These things will get, bruh. I need a vacation. I legit need a vacation.
Bankai. Senbon Zakura Kageyoshi.
Breaking news, a married couple is facing charges of capital murder tonight. It comes after their 10-year-old adopted son died in their home last week. KENS 5's Vanessa Croy just heard from police and joins us live with the details. Vanessa.
Isis, what a tragic, devastating story that we just heard. These two parents, adoptive parents, are charged with capital murder in the death of their 10-year-old son. And officers believe the abuse went on at least a year. Now take a look. This is 34-year-old Jonathan Miranda and 32-year-old Christina Miranda, both facing capital murder charges. Police tell us that on September 24th, around 9:22, officers went to the 5600 block of Cielo Ranch, that's on the northeast side, for reports of an unresponsive child. When they got there, EMS crews tried to save the child, but he did not survive his injuries. After investigators started looking into the case, they realized this child was a victim of continuous abuse for at least a year. So right now, investigators say they are still trying to put together the pieces of what exactly happened. The medical examiner is now charged with finding a final determination of death. And before we go, Isis, we do want to say that they tell us there are other children in that home, and right now the investigation is ongoing to see if they were victims as well. For now, Isis, back to you.
Released this noon, a San Antonio couple faces capital murder charges accused of killing their 10-year-old adopted son, Michael Miranda. Police arrested Jonathan and Christina Miranda Wednesday after they discovered their son unresponsive at home last week. Police found the boy unresponsive on the floor of the couple's northeast side home. Investigators say he appeared extremely malnourished and had severe bruising and sores all over his body. Despite first responders' efforts, he died there at the home. An autopsy report showed he had fractured ribs, a dislocated arm, and internal bleeding.
The injuries were persistent with continuous trauma that were happening for approximately a year. And soon enough as the investigation continued, they also received video surveillance of the abuse to the child.
Investigators spoke to the other children living in the home who said that the parents would pick him up by his feet and throw him until he stopped moving. They said this abuse happened daily. Both parents are now charged with capital murder.
Two parents face charges of murder tonight. It is a horrific case of alleged child abuse. The death of their 10-year-old adopted son. Investigators say it's the result of more than a year of intense physical abuse and starvation. Good evening, and we begin tonight with new details. They're not easy to hear, but we tell you for the victim.
Yeah, two parents are charged with murder. The arrest affidavit laying out the very graphic details of the abuse that 10-year-old Michael Miranda is said to have suffered. 34-year-old Jonathan Miranda, along with his wife, 32-year-old Christina, now both charged with capital murder. Officers were sent to their home last week in the Cielo Ranch neighborhood that's on the northeast side. News 4 San Antonio's Ethan Trejo joins us now with more on the case, and we do have to warn you, many of the details, they are disturbing.
Well, it was right here where first responders attempted to save Michael's life. He was later pronounced dead in the living room.
Yes, they're always being playing right there.
Neighbors say the Mirandas seemed like a quiet, normal family, but the scene investigators arrived to was anything but. Michael was found malnourished and battered, with several injuries across nearly every part of his body.
It is believed that the injuries were persistent with continuous trauma that were happening for approximately a year.
Reports from Michael's siblings say that he was repeatedly beaten with several paddles, and his parents would pick him up by the feet, throwing him to the floor until he stopped crying or moving. Investigators also found him in a diaper with several absorbent pads down on the floor of the laundry room where they believe he was being kept. The room also held behavioral charts to monitor how well the child would obey various rules. Autopsy reports confirm that he died of both starvation and physical and emotional abuse, something that Pamela Allen, CEO of Eagles Flight Advocacy, says has become a dangerous trend.
It's so gruesome to hear this and that this is still happening. Bexar County, of course, has one of the highest ranking cases of child abuse in our nation. And that is a horrible, horrible statistic to be in the top 10 of.
CPS investigators were out here asking neighbors questions as well. They were unable to give us any information here, nor has the agency responded to our questions. The status of the other 5 children in the house with Michael is still unclear. Reporting from the northeast side, Ethan Trejo, News 4, San Antonio.
This case raises so many questions. Here's what we're still working to find out. We're still waiting for the medical examiner to release the official cause and manner of death. We're looking into the reason Michael was adopted and information on his previous abuse.
Details on what police say is a deadly case of child abuse. Bruises, broken ribs, and malnourishment are all the signs that SAPD says pointed to the abuse of a 10-year-old boy. That boy's parents are now charged with capital murder as a result of the child's death. Katrina Weber shows us why their arrests have left some neighbors stunned.
As they were led out in handcuffs, 34-year-old Jonathan Miranda and his 32-year-old wife Christina kept their heads down and mouths shut, refusing to talk about the capital murder case against them. Instead, what San Antonio police say happened inside their home on Cielo Ranch near Eisenhower Road is all laid out in an arrest affidavit. It says their 10-year-old son, Michael, was physically abused on a daily basis, confined and filled to a laundry room. It also mentions signs of starvation and multiple injuries on his neck and body.
I just knew something really, really bad happened in the house, and the cops just kept saying, yeah, it's not good.
This neighbor isn't showing her face, but did show us cell phone video of police arriving last Wednesday night. She says the usually quiet street was filled with the sound of Christina Miranda's sobs.
She was just inconsolable. She was crying, was falling to the ground, couldn't be held up.
Police found Michael Miranda already dead inside the home. After investigating for a week, they arrested the couple.
It was awful. It was awful. I mean, I cried for whatever had happened. I mean, I didn't know, but I just know it was bad.
Other neighbors declined to be interviewed but made their feelings known. To say that neighbors are shocked and hurt might seem like an understatement. Most say they assumed this was just a normal family with children often playing out in the yard. One woman told me at least 4 other children lived there, but she never noticed Michael among them. She says she only saw him when he was carried out in a body bag. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
An attorney representing Jonathan and Christina Miranda sent us a statement refuting the claims by San Antonio police. He said in part that police concluded their investigation without considering the child's medical history or statements from witnesses. The attorney also said anyone who knows the Miranda family is shocked by their arrests. You can read that full statement right now on KSAT.com.
Allegations against 2 adoptive parents. We first told you about their arrest for capital murder on Wednesday after their 10-year-old son was found dead inside their home last week.
And all new tonight, the father's attorney claims that San Antonio police have rushed to conclusions. Tonight, KENS 5 reporter Megan Reyna is live downtown. And Megan, what did this attorney reveal to you?
Well, Henry Easties, this attorney was obtained after the 10-year-old boy died last week by the father. He is not overseeing the capital murder case, but the Child Protective Services investigation. He says there's evidence police have here that shows the child had pre-existing physical and emotional or behavioral conditions. However, police here believe the child died as a result of continuous abuse for at least a year. Jonathan and Christina Miranda had their heads down Wednesday night with nothing to say as they were taken to jail. The two are accused of abusing their 10-year-old son, Michael Miranda, for about a year. Michael is Christina's nephew, but had been living with the couple for the last 6 years. The couple also has 5 other children, all of them homeschooled. Joseph Holscher represents the father in the Child Protective Services investigation. He claims the child had several pre-existing medical and mental health conditions.
A number of emotional issues, cognitive impairment due to a prior brain tumor. He also had something called reactive attachment disorder, which can be very intense.
Holscher says the child would often bang his head against the wall, soil himself, and at times even charge at people, including his siblings.
These kids do engage in self-harm. They engage in behaviors that are considered extremely abnormal. Kids with severe cases of RAD almost always end up institutionalized because they require 24/7 care that is specialized.
But according to police, witnesses in the home told investigators Michael was abused daily with objects like a wooden paddle and rubber paddle with metal inside. It states he was forced to stand with his arms raised for long periods of time and punished if he dropped them. Police say they have video evidence and that Michael was confined to a laundry room, but Holscher says he was not being hidden away.
There were a lot of both psychological professionals and medical professionals involved, and he saw different professionals regularly. In fact, there were appointments not long before this.
The warrant states Michael appeared malnourished with signs of various trauma in various stages of healing. It states the initial autopsy suggests Michael died from internal injuries. Meanwhile, Holscher has this message for investigators.
Follow the evidence, because if you miss a step or make a mistake, you destroy families and you destroy kids.
We have reached out to police here about the attorney's allegations, but the department said they will not comment since this is an ongoing investigation. Child Protective Services also won't comment on the case, but they do tell us they're working alongside SAPD. Meanwhile, we are still waiting to learn from the medical examiner an official cause and manner of death. Reporting live outside Public Safety Headquarters, Megan Reyna, KENS 5.
Boy, let's go. I hope y'all ready for me to rip these bastards apart. September 24th, 2025. Just after 9 p.m. Police show up at their house. Outside, looking just as normal. Nice, quiet neighborhood. No signs of chaos. But inside, this might sound cliche, but it was a literal house of horror. Michael Miranda, 10 years old, unresponsive, not breathing, no pulse. Paramedics rush in, trying everything they could. CPR, life-saving measures, desperate to bring this little boy back. Nothing left to save. The little boy body already endured enough pain than most people could even think to survive. As investigators start looking closer, all the truth comes out. They see the bruises, the open sores, the cuts, the marks. Not from one bad night, but from months, upwards to a year. I never had to do this before, but let's do a checklist. Let's do an injury checklist for a child. I never had to do this before. Let's do an injury checklist. Where's my notes? Multiple, not one, not two, multiple broken ribs. Some fresh, some already healing. Multiple different stages of healing. One of his arms was dislocated. His legs battered. Both of his femurs was damaged. In case you're unaware, your femur is that giant bone in your thigh. Both were damaged. His body was emaciated. Looked like he hadn't eaten in days, maybe a week or so. He was 10, but his body looked closer to 6. Small, fragile, malnourished. Documents show he was wearing a diaper. Let that sink in. A 10-year-old wearing a diaper. And when investigators removed it, they found open sores, bruising, and a severe case of rectal prolapse. If you don't know what that means, I'll fill you in. Rectal prolapse occurs when part of the rectum, which is the lower end of the large intestine, I don't think I need to tell you, where that ends. The lower end bulges out of your anus. Severe rectal prolapse refers to a significant degree of protrusion. That means it's coming out. The causes of it is weakening of the pelvic floor muscles, chronic constipation or straining, childbirth. He was a 10-year-old boy, so you can completely X that out. Connective tissue disorders and trauma. So in this particular case, rectal prolapse happens when the inside of the body literally collapses outward. It's caused by severe trauma, by constant pressure, by abuse so relentless the body starts giving up on itself. They beat this child to death. The medical examiner said his cause of death was likely a lacerated lower intestine caused by blunt force trauma. That means someone hit him, kicked him, or struck him so hard, his internal organs ruptured. Wow. Says here they also found an internal injury to the neck. How do you get an internal injury to your neck? What did they shove down this child's throat? WTF. Boy, boy, boy. That is not discipline. That is not a mistake in any stretch of the imagination. That is a year-long torture session, hidden in plain sight. Then it goes on to say when the police started searching the home, it got even worse. It got worse. In the laundry room where Michael was kept, they found dry feces all over the floor, broken drywall, like someone had been thrown or slammed against it, a pee pad, like you would use for a dog, but placed where a human had been forced to live. That's where Michael spent his final days. Not in a bedroom, not with toys of comfort, in a laundry room. Trapped, starving, sick, beaten, battered, broken. That's not a home, that's a prison. And when the police questioned the adoptive mother, or should I say, the adoptive aunt, because going by that last news report I played for you guys, that was new to me. That was new to me. She's the aunt. She's the fucking aunt. What? She tried to lie her way through it. She said he wasn't feeling good, so we kept him in their room to monitor him. Ma'am, monitor him? You don't monitor a child in filth and isolation. You confined him there to break him. Then, when they asked her how long he'd been kept in that room, she immediately requested a lawyer. Baby girl, that was smart because she knew what she did. Police believed that Michael had been confined in that laundry room for at least a year. Imagine that. 10 years old, locked away like an animal, beaten every day, starving, waiting for someone to care enough to save you, just for nobody to do so. There were 6 children total in that house, all of them homeschooled, all of them isolated, outside of them going outside and play from time to time, all under the same roof with the monsters who so happen to call themselves parents or auntie and uncle, whichever you want to go with. When police started interviewing the surviving kids, phew, the shit hit the fan at that point. The other children said Michael was beaten every day, not once in a while, not as a punishment when he did something, but every single day. They said Jonathan and Christina used paddles, wooden ones, and sometimes rubber paddles, but with a metal insert inside. Think about that. A paddle, but reinforced. What? They make those? Where do you even purchase that? They said he was picked up by his feet and slammed on the floor over and over again until he either stopped moving or until he stopped crying. What would make you do that? What the hell is this? The ending scene to the Avengers? Like the Hulk did Loki? What would make you do that? They said he was forced to stand against the wall for hours, arms raised until they gave out. And when he dropped his arms, he was beaten again. They said sometimes he'd be hit so hard he'll pass out. And the abuse still didn't stop. The other children told investigators that Michael had to use the bathroom in that same laundry room, like I mentioned earlier, on that pee pad. They said he was fed scraps, that he'd beg for food, that he'll cry from hunger, and that when he cried, they'd beat him again for that too. Let me say that again. He was fed scraps. He'd beg for food. And when he'd cry because he was hungry, they would beat him for that too. This little boy cried because he was hungry, and they beat him for it. That is sadism. That's cruelty so pure, it doesn't even feel human. Police noted something else during the interviews, something that says everything about how much fear was inside that house. The children begged the officers, they said, please don't tell our parents what we said. Imagine being a kid talking to police, the people who are supposed to protect you, and still being too scared to come out with all the truth. That is a level of fear that's barely ever reached. But it's not only fear. Rest assured, it's not only fear. That is conditioning. Those kids lived every day knowing one thing: that if they spoke up, they'd end up like Michael. They'd end up like their cousin, foster brother, however you want to put it. And this is what kills me. Michael had already lived through hell prior to this. I'm assuming with his biological mother, Christina's sister or Christina's brother, Christina's Christina's sibling, I'm assuming, because the very last news report said that Michael is her nephew. They adopted him. So whatever sibling that Michael is the child of, he was already abused prior to being abused by these two bastards. Ain't that something? He was adopted because he had already been neglected and sexually assaulted. So these two, Jonathan and Christina Miranda, they bought him in. But they didn't bring him in to heal him, not to give him safety, but they bought him in to finish what the other one started. If that isn't diabolical, if that isn't sinister, I don't know what is. If you watching this video, listening to this video right now, if you aren't tossing your phone or punching your computer screen, you should be at this point. You can't make this up. In the police reports, detectives called it predatory. They said it looked like Michael was targeted, like they intentionally picked him and broke him down over time. Bro, this wasn't rage. This wasn't frustration. This was deliberate. This was clearly torture. And the worst part, for a year, nobody outside that house knew. Nobody checked. Nobody intervened. Neighbors said they never suspected a thing, never heard anything, never saw anything. They saw the other kids playing outside, but nobody has ever known of Michael's existence up until they saw the body bag come out. How is that even possible? How do you hide a whole child? But that's what happens when abuse is hidden behind the church, smiles, and homeschooling. No teachers, no doctors, no eyes on the kids, just total and utter control. A 10-year-old boy lived his final year trapped in that laundry room, starving and beaten, while the world around him went on like everything was hunky dory, sunshine and rainbows, peaches and cream. And what blows my mind about this entire case, it's not just the abuse. It's not just the death. It's not even the fact that these two monsters, Jonathan Miranda and Christina Miranda, managed to hide it for over a year. It's the fact that somebody set their monkey ass in front of cameras, looked at that child's body, and defended it. Jonathan Miranda, CPS defense attorney. Joseph Hosher, the guy from the guy from the very last video, a man with a law degree, but zero humanity. I'm gonna post a link to the full article because that last news video does this piece of crap no justice. And I want y'all to go read that article. But I'm gonna go over some of the things that were said. When reporters asked this fool about this case, about the child who was found dead, starved, bruised, broken bones, wearing a diaper, this idiot had the audacity to say, Michael suffered from a number of physical and mental health issues because of extensive abuse before becoming a part of the Miranda family. Everyone who knows of the Mirandas is shocked by the arrest. They're loving and dedicated parents. And then he said something that made my blood boil. This is the line that pissed me off completely. I was already pissed before, but this is the line here that pissed me off. Kids like Michael, they engage in self-harm. They hit themselves. They soil themselves. They charge at people. Let me stop right there. A 10-year-old with broken ribs, internal bleeding, malnourished, a diaper filled with sores, his anus hanging out of his ass. And your defense is that he did it to himself. This man, this lawyer, looked at the evidence, the medical examiner's paperwork, the autopsy, the photographs, the witness statements from 5 other children, and doubled down on stupid and stood there talking to the news, trying to convince the world that this child's suffering was his own fault. I am outdone. I have seen and heard it all. I'm done. I'm outdone. That took the cake. That is not being a lawyer. I don't know what the hell that is. I am completely lost. That's the sickness in our system. That's the way evil gets sanitized behind quote unquote reasonable doubt and courtroom rhetoric. You can't call yourself a man of justice and speak like that about a dead child. You can't look at a 10-year-old boy's torture and say, oh, well, maybe he was just difficult. That's not defense, that is deflection. That's how the guilty get sympathy while the dead get smeared. Joseph Hosher even had the nerve to say that the police, they rushed the investigation, that they were trying to get headlines. What the hell do you mean the police were just trying to get headlines? Sir, you think a police officer walked into that house, saw a dead 10-year-old covered in bruises, and thought to himself and thought to herself, this will look good for the gram. That's how low this man had to stoop to defend trash. He didn't just protect his clients, he re-victimized a child they killed. That is completely diabolical. Completely diabolical. You cannot make this up. I don't even know how. He re-victimized a child they killed. He painted Michael as violent, mentally ill, damaged. You know what that's called? Character assassination. And it's the last insult they could give to a boy who can't even speak for himself. That little boy was not a monster. He was a child who was hurt, locked away, isolated, and beaten until his body literally and figuratively gave out. And now, even in death, people like Joseph Holscher, I'm going to keep saying this bastard's name. Even in death, people like Joseph Holscher are trying to bury his truth, try to bury this little boy's story under legal jargon and mental health explanations. And that's where people like me come in, speaking for the children who can't speak for themselves anymore. Because you don't get to excuse torture by calling it therapy. You don't get to excuse starvation by calling it discipline. You don't get to look at a child who was murdered and say, well, maybe he bought it on himself. That is a different level of psycho. That's not a defense. That is clear-cut desecration. And you know what really makes this disgusting? The calmness, the way he said it, like he was reading off a teleprompter, like none of this bothered him, like this was just a goldfish dying and he flushing it in the toilet, like he's seen this movie before and just moved on to the next case. No emotion, no remorse. Meanwhile, that little boy's body just tells the truth. No words could hide. The bruises told it. The bones told it. The broken walls in the house in the laundry room told it. Every child, the other 5 children in that house confirmed it. Oh, but Joseph Holscher wants us to believe that it was all an accident and that Michael was the problem. Nah. The problem is that people like Holscher keep getting paid to twist the truth until evil sounds reasonable. The truth is simple, very simple. If you defend monsters by blaming the victims, you become part of the problem. You stop practicing law at that point and you start practicing abuse. That is insane. But now that everyone in the house is gone, the house went quiet, not a peep. Not because peace has returned, but because the screams have finally stopped. Police have finished their search and the news broke. CPS, Child Protective Services, CPS, Can't Protect Siblings, CPS. They came in to take the remaining 5 children, the ones who had lived through the same hell, who'd seen the beatings, who learned to survive in silence. can't protect siblings, CPS, said they were all placed together in a home, safe, possibly with a family aunt or something. But the word safe, that's a word that's supposed to mean something. When you've been raised in a place like that, safe doesn't come easy anymore, clearly. Because what do you do when the people who are supposed to protect you were the ones holding the paddle? When the word mom means pain, when the word dad means fear. You don't just get therapy for that. You spend years trying to rewire your brain to learn that you can cry without being punished, to eat without flinching, to sleep without dreaming of footsteps in the hallway. Those kids are going to carry that trauma for the rest of their lives. And the truth is, the world will move on long before they ever heal. CPS said in court they're providing therapy, a home study, a case plan. All the official words that make it sound like something is being done. But where were they when Michael was starving? Where were they when a 10-year-old was locked in a laundry room for a year? Where were they when his ribs were breaking one by one? While his siblings begged him to be quiet so he wouldn't get hit again, where were they? You see, this system, the same system that shows up after the body has gotten cold, is the same system, the same one that always tells us, oh, we're doing everything we can. No, you're not. You're doing everything after it's too late. And let's talk about those neighbors. The ones who say they had no idea, no screams, no signs, no nothing. We hear that line every time, don't we? Oh, I never would have guessed. They seemed like such a nice family. And that's the problem. Because evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like a smiling couple at church, a homeschooling mom on Facebook, a devoted father who posts Bible verses while holding a broken child in his laundry room. That's what this case is. It's not just a tragedy, it's a mirror. It shows how easy it is to fake perfection in a world that never looks past filters. Now the surviving children are in CPS custody. The parents sitting in a jail facing capital murder charges. And the lawyer still running his mouth, talking about mental illness and self-harm. Like those words supposed to erase what they did. But the evidence doesn't lie. That laundry room doesn't lie. Those broken bones don't lie. The autopsy doesn't lie. The only people who ever lied were the ones calling themselves mom and dad, or aunt and uncle, however you want to put it. You can't call that a home. You can't call them parents. You damn sure can't call that discipline. And no amount of courtroom spin or PR talk can change that. It's not that it happened once, it's that it keeps happening. Different names, different cities, same damn pattern. A child suffers in silence. Somebody calls CPS, they just investigate. Nothing happens. A few months later, there's a body, and everybody acts shocked. We've built a system that reacts instead of protects, a system that does paperwork instead of prevention. They always talk about policy changes and better communication, but a child doesn't need communication meetings. A child needs someone to show up when the bruises are fresh, not when the blood is already dried and are washed off. CPS says we're overwhelmed, we're underfunded. Okay, then say it louder. Say it to the lawmakers. Say it to the public. Don't whisper it in private after the funeral. Because here's the truth: children die when adults stay comfortable. And every person who saw a sign and stayed quiet, every caseworker who filed and forgot, every neighbor who said, "Oh, I don't know," they all share a piece of that silence. And society, let's be honest, we love pretending these stories are rare. We love pretending these stories don't happen. We scroll past them. We shake our heads. We say, "Oh, that's awful." And then we keep on scrolling. But behind closed doors, Michael isn't the only one. Neil Williams isn't the only one. Brian Vasquez isn't the only one. There's more of these children. There's more kids living in invisible cages, hoping somebody would notice before it's too late. We talk about protecting children like it's a slogan, but we don't protect them in the real world. We protect reputations, appearances. We protect the adults. And you know what else this case shows? How evil hides in plain sight. These weren't strangers. They weren't protectors off the street. They were a quote unquote loving couple, church people, homeschool parents. The kind everybody praises for taking in kids. But love doesn't starve. Love doesn't isolate. Love doesn't break bones and call it monitoring. So when people say they seemed so nice, remember, evil wears costumes now. Evil smiles now. Evil prays now. Evil posts pictures on Facebook with Bible verses and hashtags that say hashtag blessed. Meanwhile, a child is dying in the fucking laundry room. That's America's sickness. We don't look close enough. And when we finally do, it's too late. And I'll say this. Michael Miranda deserved to live. He deserved a life beyond pain. He deserved love that didn't hurt. And everyone who failed him, from the people who abused him to the people who ignored him, to the people who defended him, they all got blood on their hands. They all got blood on their hands. Because this went entirely too long and too far. Now drop my fucking beat. I'm not here to respect no goddamn legal process. I'm here to say what everybody's too afraid to say. This system doesn't protect kids. It protects monsters. It protects people with titles, money, and excuses. It gives abusers a second chance and victims a death sentence. Fuck that. You mean to tell me a 10-year-old boy, beaten, starved, battered, bloody, bruised, and broken, fuck, that's a lot of B words, was living in that house for a year and nobody did a goddamn thing? Nobody from CPS thought to knock twice? Oh yeah, can't protect siblings. How could I forget that? Nobody from the church saw the bruises and thought, oh, something's off. You mean to tell me everybody in the church is fucking blind? You mean to tell me nobody knew? No. Somebody always knows. Every neighborhood has a Karen, especially a neighborhood like that with that house. Y'all saw the house. With that type of neighborhood, there's Karens all over that goddamn neighborhood. You mean to tell me them Karens just don't care enough to do something? And then we got this faggot. Yeah, I said the word. I don't give a fuck. We got this faggot, Joseph Holscher, standing in front of cameras talking about mental health and self-harm like that little boy did it to himself. Like a child can shatter his own ribs. Like a child can cause his own rectal prolapse. What kind of heartless piece of human feces looks at a crime scene like that and says, oh, well, maybe he had behavioral issues, you spineless piece of shit. Joseph Holscher, step up to the podium, please. You're not defending the law, sir. You're defending two bitches, slap nuts, who don't deserve to breathe on this earth. You're not protecting justice. You're twisting it. Joseph Holscher, sir, you're the type that makes people lose faith in the system altogether. Because you didn't just defend murderers. You attacked a dead child's character. Who does that? I mean, besides you, of course. You tried to rewrite torture into a misunderstanding. You blamed a corpse for its own wounds. And if that's what your law degree taught you, motherfucker, burn it. Because it's worthless. Because no education on earth can give you a goddamn soul. Now get the hell away from me and take the walk of shame, figuratively speaking. Now let's talk about CPS, can't protect siblings. Step up to the podium, please. Every time a child dies, y'all come out with the same tired-ass line. We're deeply saddened by this tragedy. Then there's some shit like, it's a policy review. Then they come out here and say, it's a confidential case. And then, here it come, you guessed it, silence. They don't say a goddamn thing else after that. That's your pattern, CPS. Every single time. You investigate yourselves, just like law enforcement. And then, lo and behold, guess what? You find no wrongdoing. And then the next kid dies. Oh, shocker. You know how many kids die in Texas? Just Texas alone, from abuse. Just Texas alone, from abuse, just abuse. Not bullets, not firearms, not drowning, not bee stings, not snake bites. I'm talking about abuse. Children. Every year, roughly 200. In 2020, it was upwards of 251. In 2021, it was 199. In 2023, it was 187. So rounded off, This is about an average of just about 200. Close to 200 children gone per year from just abuse in Texas alone. Most of them already had open CPS cases. Let that sink in. And nothing. Y'all show up after the funeral, not before the screams stop. You protect your agency's image more than you protect the kids you're supposed to serve. So let me say it plain. You failed Michael just like you failed thousands of other children. And if you don't like hearing it, bitch, do a better job. And let's not forget the church folks who always rush to say, oh, let's pray for the parents. No. No prayer can fix what they did. No scripture can cleanse that evil. You don't get to hide behind God after beating a child to death. You don't get to quote verses while your discipline turns into homicide. That's not religion. That's hypocrisy with a cross on it. I think at this point, personally, God doesn't even want anything to do with the two of them. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the silence. I'm sick of the excuses. I'm sick of watching these kids die because adults can't face the truth. This world doesn't need more awareness. It needs accountability. It needs laws that actually protect. It needs CPS workers who are loud enough to risk their jobs if it means saving a child. It needs lawyers who know the difference between justice and complicity. It needs lawyers who are willing to say, fuck that bar. I'm not defending this nigga. That evidence is too much. He or she deserves to go to jail. It needs neighbors to stop saying, I didn't see anything. Because for every I didn't see, it just ends with a body bag. And to Jonathan and Christina Miranda, may every second of your prison sentence, because you're going to jail for this. You're going down. There's nothing you can lie about for this. There's nothing you can say that'll get you out of this. You're going to prison. May every second of your prison sentence feel like that laundry room. No light, no comfort, no escape. Because that's what you gave Michael. That's what you deserve. If not your own death. Jonathan Miranda, you already know what time of day it is, homeboy. You killed a child in a very, very, very chilling way. Playboy, when you get to prison, you may as well hang it up. You're cooked. And to you, Joseph Holscher, you're just as guilty by association. You may never see a prison cell, but you'll carry a stain of this case every time you look in the mirror. And if you don't, that says everything about who you really are. But rest assured, that news article and news interview will be on the internet for the rest of your life, and it will follow you. Michael Miranda was 10 years old. 10. He should have been in a park, not a laundry room. He should have been laughing, not crying and begging for food. He should have been torturing his sisters, not literally being tortured. He should be alive today. And now he's gone. Because of a system built to protect children cares more about procedure than it does people. So no, this isn't just about one family. It's about all of us. Every name we forget, every child we fail, every headline that fades until the next one comes. Until we start screaming loud enough, this cycle will never end. And for Michael Miranda, for every child who didn't get saved in time, this is your warning shot to the world. If you keep ignoring it, you're just a part of it. And I'll leave y'all with this. And I'm going to talk clear because I need y'all to take this in about me. This is something about me. I need y'all to take this in. You may think nothing of it, but it's big to me. I remember somebody on Clubhouse asking me, we were talking about protecting children. What change do I bring being on the internet just talking about dead children? And this was my response. And I remember what I told her verbatim because it's what I do and how I feel about what it is I do. And I told her. And I said this shit with pride, and I meant it. I said, I give deceased children a platform. And I also prove a very valuable point. Because day in and day out, no one shares these children's stories. We as a people, taking race out of it, we look for that next police body cam. We look for that next mass shooting. We look for that next hashtag. While videos like mine, y'all scroll past. Even on Facebook, the reels and the shorts I post, y'all just scroll past. People that I legitimately know in real life. So that point, that very valuable point that I said I prove as well, children aren't cared about. I put all the viral hashtags on my videos. No one comes. I don't beg anyone to share. I chop up my own videos for Facebook and TikTok. I don't beg anybody for likes, subs, or donations. But if I can get a child story out and tell the truth behind the fucked up things that we have going on in this nation, like these shitty defense lawyers, DCF and CPS, these parents that don't deserve to breathe, let alone have kids. If I can put thoughts in one person's head, if you see something, say something. I just may have saved one child's life. And that means more to me than me getting thousands of views. When I said that, she couldn't say shit. Because understand something. I put my heart and my soul into these videos because these children no longer have a voice. I stay up for hours reading, taking notes, stripping news videos to add to a lineup, all the while dealing with my own life, lack of sleep, being a truck driver, going to work at 3 a.m., 60-hour work weeks. And when that day comes, I just got to say to myself, oh shit, I can't put that video off any longer. I got to do it. These children deserve to be remembered. Like y'all asses remember George Floyd. And that's why I do what I do. Thank y'all for coming through, the ones that do. This was sad. This story here has to be in my top worst. Has to be. This was just absurd to read and absurd to find out. Big shout out to the person who sent me this. This was just ridiculous. I'm the Prince of Petty, y'all. This has been Black Hypocrisy, the Risky and Petty Show. I'ma holler at y'all. Deuces.
Bankai. Wait.
just been dripping my hoes. This whole nother level shot. I got these hoes on their toes.